I want to talk about three incidents of bullying that I think characterize America now. And they're so inconsistent with who we think we are as a people that I think is worth highlighting. I'll just go chronologically backwards. So just a few days ago, we were in Georgia coming down here to Hilton Head from rural Alabama. And we stopped at a Burger King to get some, well, to use the restroom. And I walked in, just walked in, and there were a group of there was a high school girls basketball team. And they started, immediately as I opened the door, one of them points, they all turn around and laugh, and all this stuff. And I was rushing to the restroom, so I was like, ha, 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 I just said that to them. And then when I came out of the restroom, this kind of continued, and finally they got ready to go. It was pretty quick. They were on their way out, and I spoke to one of the adults. I said, "Sir, are you with these young ladies?" And he said, "Yeah." And he didn't even want to stop and entertain anything I was saying. He kept moving, even though it was clear I wanted to speak with him. And I said, "Did you see how they were harassing me?" "I ain't seen nothing." And he just kept on moving. So then a few minutes later, another woman had come out of the bathroom, and she was with them. I said, "Ma'am, did you see what just happened?" By this time, all the girls had gone and loaded on the big yellow school bus. And I've talked in other videos about facing earliest incidents of harassment that I faced on yellow school buses like that. But I said, "Ma'am, these girls were harassing me, and this is what happened, and please ask them." And she, first of all, her whole demeanor was different. When I said, "Excuse me," she stopped and looked at me and said, "Okay, I'm going to listen to what you have to say." So what that told me is that man had saw what happened, and he had agreed with it, because the man was in the middle, sitting in the middle of the group. I noticed that in the beginning of all that laughing and stuff. So he knew what was going on, and then that's how he chose to deal with it. But the woman, on the other hand, said, "I'm sorry, sir, and I'll talk to them, and they know better." And she, and we just left it at that. And I'm sure she, and as I later discovered, by looking at the bus and all that, it was actually a church group, which I found more telling about this historical moment, that there was an actual church group, and there were adult mentors who passively or actively permitted and encouraged that kind of behavior. The other one, and one of the employees in Burger King, when I first came in, who witnessed that he was changing the garbage, I remember, he's like, "I'm really sorry." And it may sound trite, but even just to have that kind of like solidarity amongst people to say, "You know what, I'm sorry. It shouldn't happen." It really is quite comforting. As an adult, that kind of bullying, I'm able to withstand it, and doesn't penetrate me the way that it did as a child. But imagine that on a girls' basketball team. I know I'm being cliche, but there are probably some lesbians on that team. Imagine how they're treated within that group. But that's just conjecture. The other incident was back in Alabama a few days ago. I guess it was about a week ago, and we were out, my partner and I were out shopping somewhere. And so I was just walking around, and there were a group of children. They were clearly related, because they looked alike. And I think the eldest girl was like 14, 15. There was a 9-year-old, 19-year-old boy, 7, 8-year-old boy, and then a smaller child. And they were roaming around, and so the girl sees me. Look, they stop. Look, and they do that, look, and pointing and laughing and all that stuff. So I try to disarm them, and I'm just like, "Hello, how are you? You guys looking forward to your Christmas vacation, just to make small talk with people, and to disarm them, and to really show them that, hey, A, I'm paying attention, B, I am watching what you're doing, and C, that's harmful, but I'm not going to stoop to that level." Do you know what one of the kids did? He's like, "We're fine, we're gonna," and he goes on this Queenie kind of stuff. So I was like, okay, fine. They walked by again, and finally I said, "Excuse me, little girl, are you here with an adult?" "My mama over there." And it were biracial kids, and the woman that was with him is white. And I said, "Ma'am, this is what's going on." And I just said, "You know what, just ask the kids what they did. Just ask them." And of course, we ain't do that. And she said, "Whatever y'all thought y'all was getting, y'all ain't getting. Let's go." And she took them out, and I hope she gave them a good talking to, but I have the feeling that she probably gave them a smacking. So those are two incidents. I'm going to give you the third incident, but before I do, I want to remind you that as much as many people in their mind have worked out, well, this is gay bashing, and you're a queen, and couldn't you just dress differently or talk differently, or all the things that people say, couldn't you stop acting like a girl? Would just like to pause for a moment and say, I'm not acting. It's usually people who say that who are acting like something and not being their authentic selves. So through all this, I'm just me, and very, unconsciously. So the third incident that I'd like to tie into this, I was at a gas station a few days before that, and it's owned by a South Asian family, and they're only South Asian people who work in there. And so I went to get some gas, and I walked in to pay, and I heard some music. That I used to live in India, so I'm somewhat familiar with music from the region, different kinds of music from the region. Not even that, I was just kind of aware of, pay attention to the world around me. But, and the guy turned off the music when I came in. And so when I went up to pay, I was like, hey, what you listening to? It sounded really good. And he went off. He's like, what's good? What's bad? What are you talking about? Da, 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 da. And he just went off. And so I left immediately, and I was like, oh my God, this guy is a monster. I'm never coming back here. And then I took a moment, I took a deep breath, and I was like, wait a minute, let me remember where I am. I'm in rural Alabama, Bible Belt. And for a lot of people, that doesn't mean the Christian, compassionate, it means literally the whip. That's what it means for a lot of people. And I said, and this guy is a brown person, post 9/11. I'm sure that he's been harassed, bullied, treated very poorly, by all the people around here. So I said, let me just go back in here and just have a conversation with him. And sure enough, I went back in there and I talked to the guy who was from Bangladesh, not India, and he was saying to me, and he is Muslim, and he was saying to me that people, come in there and they ask him if he's watching porn and all of this stuff, and quite insulting and demeaning to him, just as the cashier at this little, gas station. And so then I understood, and he understood what I was asking, why I was asking about why his response was like that. And what it came down to is that he had been bullied. He perceived that he had been bullied. And I bring that last example in because I want to say that there is something about teaching tolerance and respect for difference that we don't do in our so-called Christian nation. We don't teach tolerance. We don't teach mutuality. We don't teach respect. And the fact that I can walk into an establishment and be harassed by kids and some of the adults just, it's business as usual. It's okay. I ain't gonna do nothing about it. Blah, blah, blah. And a lot of people get that hard shell, just like that guy, that Bangladeshi guy in the store. Eventually you develop that hard shell. And then all your dialogue with people becomes that tit for tat. Just like a lot of the comments, that I have on my YouTube videos, you get a lot of very homophobic things, and people just, I could be talking about, the condition of the grass is da-da-da-da-da-da, or the sand is fluffy, and people would be like, you're a queen, you're gay. Just look on any of my videos. I could be talking about anything under the sun, and inevitably some fool will write, oh my God, you're gay. And it just tells me that we are, as a nation, nowhere near where we think we are. We're nowhere near as tolerant. We're nowhere near as just respectful. We just don't respect people. And you all know the deal. Those people who are judgmental of other people are really judgmental of themselves. Those people who are disrespectful of other people like that, imagine how they disrespect themselves. And that's what I see a lot of here in America, is people who they just don't respect themselves at all. And it's frightening because, a person who doesn't respect themselves, they have nothing to lose. You can't even have a conversation with them. You can't have any dialogue with them. Here comes a friendly dog. Probably has more respect for me than a lot of people that grew up around here. And that's all I wanted to say.